We've arrived now at part 11 of the digestive system, page 883. Coming back first to 882, we have the beginning here of the pancreas. The pancreas is going to produce, under the influence of CCK, carboxylases, peptidases, lipases, endonucleases. So these are the four substances that we know how to metabolize. We can metabolize basically starches to sugars. We can metabolize polypeptides and proteins to amino acids. We can metabolize triglycerides or fats down to fatty acids and to glycerol. And then endonucleases will metabolize DNA and RNA. Okay, so all under the influence of CCK from the walls of the duodenum. Okay, so we proceed on here to this picture, and here I'm trying to present to you that the walls of the duodenum are producing CCK and secretin. And the CCK is going to come around and open the sphincter of Oddi. It's going to cause the cells here in the pancreas, not the islet of Langerhans, but the other cells that are, most of the cells here are producing enzymes. Okay, all kinds of enzymes for metabolism, and we're getting the little plus sign here that CCK is able to increase the function of that. Okay, and that secretin, also coming from the wall, is going to stimulate the flow of water from watery fluid from the duct cells that are rich in bicarb. Okay, and together the enzymes and the bicarb-rich water will flow down here to the sphincter of Oddi, which is opened by who? By CCK. And meanwhile, we're going to come out here. Now, there is also another thing going on with the membrane here of the duodenum. We have membrane-bound enteropeptidase. And the enteropeptidase bound to the membrane here will activate the other enzymes here. Okay, and so that means that we get activation of the enzymes here in the small intestine. We have to have the pancreas in this position. Otherwise, if we have it higher up, the stomach is actually going to metabolize these enzymes. Not a good thing. So we have to come down here where the pH is 8 and not 2 in the stomach. And then these enzymes function uniquely in an environment of pH 8. Okay, then we come down here and we read about what is it that CCK is all doing, and it's all doing a lot. Okay, so you can read the bottom of page 883 here. It says the major stimulus of gallbladder contraction is going to be the CCK, and it's going to open up the sphincter of Oddi, and it's going to do some other things here. They list us a little 1, 2, 3 type of thing here. Stimulates the secretin of pancreatic juice, the secretion of pancreatic juice, excuse me. It relaxes the, well, what they're calling here, this sphincter is actually the sphincter of Oddi. Okay, and then it goes on here and talks about secretin itself. Secretin is another hormone coming from similar cells nearby the CCK, and mainly they're targeting the pancreatic duct cells. We turn the page and we complete the sentence here, and it says that this results when we stimulate the pancreatic duct cells, we're going to get a watery bicarbonate rich pancreatic juice. And then CCK, it says, released in response to proteins and fats in the chyme, that is to say the material coming from the stomach, is going to stimulate the acini to release enzymes. Okay, so we're going to get enzymes along with the bicarbonate-rich watery fluid. And also it's notable here that CCK potentiates the effect of secretin, which is to say that they have synchronicity. Okay, so in synergy with each other. They come at the same time, and in particular, CCK helps secrete and do its job. A similar type of orientation exists, for instance, with estrogen and progesterone, that they have a certain level of synergy, that they make each other work better. So here's another type of synergy that is in existence here. Okay, so then that brings us over here to motility, and we're now on page 886. I've just turned the page again, and we're studying now motility of the small intestine, and we're discussing the idea of segmentation, which is the vagus acting on Meissner's plexus, which then stimulates the inner circular layer in order to do the mixing work of enzymes and food chyme. Then we have the peristalsis, which is to move things forward in a distal direction. Again, the vagus in this case is acting on Auerbach's plexus. Auerbach's plexus operates the outer longitudinal muscular layer, and it's basically proceeding in a wave-like type of contraction that guides things further along. Notice here that there is something called a migrating motor complex. So remember how the stomach had a rhythm? It turns out that there's rhythm also to accomplish movement and segmentation mixing in the small intestine. So we have successive wave-like activity. There's ultimately something called the migrating motor complex. It's a complete trip from the duodenum to the ileum. It is going to take about 2 hours, sometimes as little as 90 minutes. Generally, you could say safely 2 hours for a single wave to move in that respect. This is a housekeeping function, and it's something that is to say on all of the time. That's the sense of that word. Okay, so we're going to note also that there are these reflexes just by swallowing food. Sometimes reflexively things distant in the intestines. Remember, the tract is 20 feet long or so. There's going to be further valve type of openings once you swallow. So sometimes the stomach opens up, sometimes the small intestine opens to the large intestine, and so on. So the next effort that we'll make here is going to be with the large intestine. We'll have a big overview of the large intestine. Its main function is to store the remaining food substances until it's time to evacuate. And so there are a few things that do happen, though, of great interest in the large intestine, and it has largely to do with flora. So that's probably the main thing that we want to think about here with regard to that. Here is the large intestine. It begins here at the ileocecal valve, and we have the ascending colon. We have these little haustra here. We have these little strips right here that are called tinea coli. We have little appendages called the epiploic appendages. Here we have free, sort of floating across here is the transverse colon. We have the descending colon right here, the sigmoid colon, the rectum, and the anus. Here we house a vast supply, in healthy people, a vast supply of flora. Okay, here is the anal canal, and we have a little lever here. Press the lever, and we get the smooth muscle sphincter here to relax. We still have access to the skeletal muscle voluntary sphincter, and here are these little portions here called anal columns and anal sinuses right here. These right here are actually also called hemorrhoidal veins, right? So that's our sequence, and it's the way out here through the anal opening.